ask you some questions and we'll get right to it.
Okay.
Okay, this is Dr. Rick Miller. Rick is professor of marriage and family therapy at Brigham Young University. And today we want to talk a little bit about asking good research questions. And this, talking to Rick today has been one of those things that I wanted to do because a while ago in an email discussion he had said, our MFT students aren't asking good research questions. So I want to pose that question to you. What is a good research question?
I think a good research question is one that contributes to the field, adds to the theoretical base of the let me start. You're going to edit this thing, right?
Yeah. Or not.
Oh boy. Let me start with the story, okay?
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah. When I was doing my defense for my master's thesis, the committee said this is a good thesis in that it followed good scientific methods, you did everything right, but it's totally worthless. They said that they would pass me because I did all the right scientific things, but it's totally worthless because it didn't ask a question that anyone cared about.
Not irrelevant.
It's totally irrelevant.
Yeah, okay.
Of course, I disagreed with them, but that's what they said.
Yeah.
And it shook me up. I mean, I spent all this time working on this project. It was my passion, and they said it was a waste of time because it didn't ask a question that anyone cared about. And that's when I first became sensitive to this idea that if you're not asking a question that matters, that it doesn't matter how good your methods are, how tight your statistics are, how credible your sample is, no one cares, and it's not going to move the field forward. And so since then, I've thought a lot about the importance of the question. One of my concerns about the field of marriage and family therapy is I think sometimes we ask questions that people don't really care about.
Or very few people care about.
Very few.
The experiences of MFT students in MFT supervision.
Yeah, the perceptions of doctoral students in live supervision.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be interesting to a few dozen students across the country, but
in a very time limited perspective. I mean, once I'm done with my doctoral education, I really don't care anymore.
Right.
What doc students experience.
Exactly.
Perhaps. I mean,
and it makes sense that they're asking those kind of questions because that's where they are at the moment.
That's right.
I mean, they're experiencing supervision. They're thinking about becoming supervisors themselves, and so they have this need and desire to figure it out. But it doesn't really. It's not an impactful question. And so I think one of my colleagues calls it money variables. We need to have we need to ask questions that have the dependent variable has a money variable that people care about. The example I think about sometimes is for years and years and years in the family field, marital quality was the dependent variable. What predicts marital quality? What predicts marital quality? And then finally, several years ago, people started wondering, well, who cares? Why is marital quality the dependent variable? Because we were having a hard time selling to policymakers that was a relevant question. And so now research is starting to look at marital quality as the independent variable. And they're linking marital quality or marital distress, marital conflict, to work productivity, to depression.
Health outcomes.
We just published a paper last year that showed that people that are in distressed relationships have higher healthcare utilization. Well, that's a money variable. That ties to economics. And so that's the direction we need to move. Are we addressing policymakers? Are we or even an important research question would be one that's linked directly to theory. Basic research, I think, is very valuable, and that's where we do a research study to test a theoretical proposition. Is enmeshment a true principle? Are disengaged families, are they more likely to have promiscuous children? Well, we've been teaching that for 20 years. That'd be a useful question because that would shape the theoretical foundations of the field. So I think basic research doesn't always have to be about policy, although that's certainly a relevant dependent variable, but it can also test theory. And is this studies that test attachment, studies that test the theoretical propositions of Bowen theory, for example. That's also valid research, but it's tied, and that's really good, tight scholarship because it links research to theory. In fact, I think that's one of the other problems I think we make is that I think too many of our papers are atheoretical. Too many of our articles are. When I look at the articles in sociology, I mean, they have a huge conceptualization section, a huge theory section where they tie their research question into theory, and we kind of seem to skip that stage for some reason. We're just and that would also add to the relevance of our papers if we did a better job of couching our research questions, no matter what the dependent variable is, to theory. That would build our field, I think.
It seems like it's often one of the criticisms of our field is that we don't know theory. I mean, many of the family science programs that we're housed in, the faculty will often say it's the MFT students who are weak in theory. They're great students in class, but their papers are weak in theory. So perhaps there's something there for us to learn.
I think so, especially when I read the other articles in other disciplines. I mean, there's I mean, they spend pages conceptualizing their question and linking it to specific theories, and we just seem to skip that.
So I wonder if that's. I mean, I don't know what the cause of that is. I don't know why we seem to be struggling making good research questions. I know that there are some MFT faculty who say, I want, maybe like the story that you started out with, I want our students to be able to have a research experience where they do all the right things. And connecting it to theory is maybe less important, or if there's a phenomenon they wanted to study, let's get them and let them have that research experience. Should we be putting more pressure on our students to come up with good research questions? Should we be encouraging them? Or, I mean, maybe some of this is we have to be better examples of producing.
I think we need to be better examples, but I also think we need to teach it. I think it's just something that we don't do a good enough job helping students understand the importance of an important research question, one that's going to impact the field or impact policy or society. So I think the first step is we just, as doctoral professors, we need to teach that as a really important concept. And then I think we need to have some higher expectations. When a proposal comes in, I think we need to ask the question, why does this matter? How is this going to contribute? What's going to be, if you do this study, who's going to care, and what difference will it make? I think posing those questions to our students is going to make them think and make them refine their questions and come up with better ones, I think.
Your philosophy, Rick, as far as what doctoral students should be doing with their research. I mean, I've heard some MFT faculty say things like, you know, for your dissertation, make it be something that you can do within a reasonable amount of time. Don't try and bite off an entire agenda. And yet, at the same time, we want our students to understand how to put together a research agenda. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, how good research questions inform a research agenda versus just a study, or?
Right. I think it's a long-term plan. I think you're right that a dissertation can't cover all 12 steps of their research program, but it needs to be, so they need to have a research program, and then within that, they need to be able to demonstrate how this contributes to the research program. You're exactly right that having the dissertation meet all those is wrong, but it's got to be couched within that. They're in the research program, and they need to be able to show how this is my overall research program, and then this is what my dissertation is going to do, and this is what this empirical paper I did for this class is doing, and have them start thinking about building.